Single dad saved the woman collapsing at his door, not knowing she was CEO who fired him 5 years ago. Have you ever saved someone's life only to realize that fate had brought you face to face with the one person who once took everything from you? Stay till the end because this story will remind you that life has a strange way of turning pain into purpose. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Stories, where every story proves that goodness always finds its way home. It was a cold and rainy evening in Seattle, the kind where every drop against the window felt like a sigh. Daniel Myers sat by the kitchen table with his 7-year-old daughter, Emma, helping her finish her homework. Their small apartment smelled faintly of instant noodles and hot chocolate, the simple comforts of a modest life. The radiator rattled like an old friend, fighting the cold as Daniel watched his daughter scribble letters with her little pink pencil. She looked up and smiled, her eyes full of warmth that made every hardship worth it. He smiled back, hiding the tiredness behind his eyes. Life hadn't been kind to him, but she had. 5 years ago, Daniel had a life many would envy. He worked as a senior engineer at Lintech Innovations, earning well, living comfortably, dreaming of a house with a garden for Emma. But everything fell apart the day he was called into a glass-walled office where the CEO, Rebecca Lane, sat behind a sleek desk with a look of rehearsed sympathy. She told him his position had been terminated due to restructuring. She said it was nothing personal, just business. But to Daniel, it was personal. That job was his lifeline. The layoffs wiped out his savings, and when the bills piled up, his wife left, saying she couldn't raise a child in constant struggle. Since then, Daniel had worked wherever he could, holding on for Emma. That night, as thunder rolled over the city, Daniel poured Emma a mug of hot chocolate. "Here you go, sweetheart. Careful, it's hot." She giggled, wrapping both hands around the cup. "Thanks, Daddy." It was a picture of peace, fragile, but real. Then, a sudden loud thud hit the front door. Daniel froze. It came again, followed by a faint groan. His instincts flared. He hurried to the door, unlocked it, and found a woman collapsed on the doorstep, drenched in rain, her breathing shallow, her hair plastered to her face. For a moment, he didn't recognize her. Then the porch light flickered across her face. His heart stopped. It was Rebecca Lane. The woman who had fired him 5 years ago. Daniel stood frozen in shock. His first thought wasn't kindness, it was memory, of humiliation, despair, of nights spent wondering why people in power could destroy lives with a signature. For a brief second, he considered walking back inside, closing the door, pretending he never saw her. But then Emma's small voice came from behind him, soft and innocent. "Daddy, who is she? Is she hurt?" He turned to his daughter, and in that moment, the anger melted away. Whatever Rebecca had done, she was a person in need. And he couldn't teach his daughter to turn away from suffering. He lifted Rebecca gently into his arms and carried her inside, laying her on the couch. She was burning with fever. Her lips were pale, her pulse weak. "Emma, get me a blanket and my phone," he said quickly. She ran to fetch them. Daniel covered Rebecca and wiped her forehead with a damp towel. He called emergency services, but the operator said the storm had caused delays. He'd have to keep her stable until help arrived. As hours passed, he watched her toss and turn, mumbling incoherently. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're safe here." He didn't know if she could hear him. When Emma's small hand tugged at his sleeve, she whispered, "Daddy, is she going to die?" He stroked her hair and said, "Not tonight, baby. We'll help her." Sometime near dawn, Rebecca stirred, groaning softly. Her eyelids fluttered open, disoriented. When she saw him, her expression twisted in confusion, then disbelief. "Daniel Myers?" she croaked. He nodded slowly, his voice calm but distant. "Yeah. You fainted outside my door." She blinked, trying to sit up, but he placed a hand on her shoulder. "Don't move. You're still weak." She looked around the small apartment, the modest furniture, the child's drawings on the walls, the smell of coffee, and something in her eyes shifted. "You live here?" she whispered. He gave a faint, tired smile. "It's home." Silence hung between them, heavy and awkward. She swallowed hard, shame creeping into her voice. "Daniel, I never meant to hurt you. That day, it was a business decision. I didn't know what it would cost you." He didn't answer right away. He simply said, "You should rest. The ambulance will be here soon." But her words stayed with him. When the medics finally arrived, they thanked Daniel for keeping her alive. As they lifted her onto the stretcher, Rebecca caught his hand. "You saved my life," she whispered. "I don't deserve it." He said quietly, "Maybe not. But my daughter deserves to see what forgiveness looks like." Her eyes filled with tears. 3 days passed. Life went back to its quiet rhythm. Daniel came home one evening after work and found an envelope slipped under his door. Inside was a handwritten letter on expensive paper. "Daniel, I've spent the last few days thinking about that night. I've built my life on success, but I forgot the meaning of humanity. You showed me more compassion than I ever gave others. Please meet me tomorrow morning. I want to talk. Rebecca Lane." The next morning, Daniel and Emma took the bus downtown. When they stepped into the glass tower of Lintech Innovations, Daniel's chest tightened. The same place that once shattered him now stood before him again. The receptionist smiled politely. "Mr. Myers, Ms. Lane is expecting you." Rebecca greeted them personally. She looked different, softer, humbled. "Daniel," she said quietly, "thank you for coming." He nodded, still guarded. "Why did you ask me here?" She gestured for him to sit. "Because I owe you the truth. I looked through your old records. You were one of our most brilliant engineers. Letting you go was a mistake, one that cost the company more than we ever realized. And after that night, I realized it cost me my humanity too." She handed him a folder. Inside was a new employment offer, senior engineer, twice his previous salary, full benefits for him and Emma. He stared at it, stunned. "Why?" he asked. "Because," she said softly, "the man who saved me that night is the kind of man I want leading this company. Someone who understands compassion." He didn't know what to say. His voice cracked when he finally spoke. "I don't know if I can trust this." She smiled faintly. "You don't have to trust me yet. Just trust that this is real." Then she knelt beside Emma, who had been coloring quietly in a corner. "Hi, sweetheart," she said gently. "Your dad's a hero, you know that." Emma grinned shyly. "He always helps people." Rebecca's eyes softened. "Yes, he does." Weeks passed, and Daniel started his new job. It felt surreal to walk those halls again, but this time, people greeted him with respect. He led projects with passion, and Rebecca often consulted him, listening more than she spoke. She was changing, learning, growing, unlearning the coldness that once defined her. One evening, they stood together on the balcony overlooking the city. The sunset painted the skyline in gold. Rebecca said quietly, "You know, Daniel, that night changed everything for me. I used to think power meant control. Now I see that true power is kindness." He smiled. "And forgiveness doesn't make us weak. It sets us free." They shared a long silence, not of awkwardness, but understanding. Months later, Lintech launched a new division under Daniel's leadership, one focused on affordable technology for struggling families. The media loved the story of a single father turned innovator. But what they didn't know was the deeper story, of two people who had hurt and healed each other through one simple act of kindness. At a press conference, a reporter asked Rebecca why she chose to rehire the man she once fired. Her answer was simple. Because he reminded me that everyone deserves a second chance, even CEOs. The audience applauded, and Daniel, watching from the back, felt a quiet peace bloom inside him. After the event, Emma tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, are we rich now?" she asked with a grin. He laughed softly. "Maybe not rich in money, sweetheart. But rich in something better." She tilted her head. "What's that?" He smiled. "In kindness." As they walked out into the evening, the city lights reflecting off the puddles, Daniel realized something profound. If he had let bitterness guide him that night, he would have lost the chance to change not just his life but someone else's heart. The woman who once cost him everything had become a friend, a believer in goodness. Life has a strange way of bringing people full circle. Sometimes the person who breaks you is the same one you'll help to rebuild. Sometimes forgiveness is the door that leads to miracles. So if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Because one act of compassion can change not only a life but an entire destiny, just like it did for Daniel and Rebecca. And maybe, someday, it will for you too.